COVID-19 virus was the setup. The vaccine could very well be the bioweapon.
The Patrick and Jeremy Show, Tuesday at 9 Central and Wednesday at 1 Central.
You're listening to the Republic Broadcasting Network, because you can handle the truth.
The American dream has become a nightmare. Signs of the time are on cardboard on corners in town. Like a cancer that's silently spreading, there's an unspoken fear. We're on our way down. We must take America back.
That's Main Street. That's what we're doing. We're taking America back, broadcasting from my home studio in downtown Belmont, Pennsylvania, live as National Intel Report on Republic Broadcasting Network, Liberty Lighthouse on Mojo 50 Radio, Patriot Nation Radio Network, and anywhere else you hear or see the show. I'm Peter Serafine, your host for this 2 hours of common sense and constitutional discussion. Tonight, I've got two guests that are going to join us at the bottom of this first hour. So roughly 6:30, we got Scott Thompson at 6:30 Eastern time. If you're watching live on Thursday night or listening live on Thursday night, Scott Thompson from Right to Bear Insurance is going to join us. And I've been looking into less lethal firearms or less lethal self-defense type weapons. And going to have a talk with him about some of those. There's some pretty neat options out there now. And then at the top of the second hour, so 7 p.m. Eastern time this year, Thursday, Paul Engel from Constitution Study, and he wants to talk about the, how to say this politely, the challenges of electing a new Speaker of the House. So I'm actually looking forward to that conversation too. This is a live call-in show, so please, if you have something that you would like to discuss, call in at 512-248-8252. And if you've got something that you want to say, but you don't actually want to be on air, you can text me at 64 My Rights. That's 646-974-4487. So, should be a good show. I like that. I want to say, those of you that have listened for any length of time know that my regular full-time day job is that I'm a mailman. And I've noticed something. In the last week-ish, roughly the last week, I've seen an awful lot of COVID-19 test kits being delivered through the mail. And I don't understand why. I thought COVID was over. Like, why are we still doing test kits? And why now, all of a sudden? I hadn't delivered one in months. But all of a sudden now, I'm getting a bunch of them again. Why? I don't know why. Maybe you know why. That's what the call-in line's for. 512-248-8252. Also, don't forget, I'm still giving away copies of my latest book, A More Tyrannical King, How the Federal Government Became More Oppressive Than King George. Giving away copies of it. I'll give them away in the third segment of the show. So between 7 and 7:30, we'll draw names from a hat. And how do you get your name in that hat? Is you go to liberty-lighthouse.com and click the big blue Win a Book button right at the top of the homepage there. Liberty-lighthouse.com. Win a book. Got about an hour before we start drawing again. Giving away 25 copies or something like that over the last month. Pretty excited. Never done that before. Here's your chance. Get a free book. Free is always good, right? One thing that I really don't want to talk about, if you all call in, and that's the Israeli thing, the war between Hamas and Israel. I don't want to talk about that. I don't want to talk about Ukraine. Maybe I've just become a piece of crap who doesn't care about human beings, or maybe I'm getting cynical in my older age. I don't know why, but I really don't care about wars going on in other countries. I mean, obviously, I care about the loss of human life. That's terrible, blah. That's not my point. I don't care about the political side of the wars that are going on elsewhere. I don't care about it because we've got enough problems here in our country, and we're funding all of these wars anyway. How about stop funding the wars? Stop funding countries that are going to fight over each other. Stop getting involved in everybody else's politics overseas. That's where I am. Yeah, it's terrible when anybody kills anybody. But I'm over it. I'm 50 years old and I can't remember a time when we weren't at war with somebody or financing a war with somebody. I'm tired of it. I'm tired of our country being involved in it everywhere. Our country has a terrible track record when we get involved in other nations' civil wars. A terrible track record. We take what we think is the lesser of two evils and we prop them up and make them a dictator, and then we act surprised when they behave like dictators. And then a few years goes by and all of a sudden we're at war again, and we've got to go in and remove dictators that we propped up. That's the American foreign policy of the modern age. And I don't like it. So maybe that does make me a terrible human being, that I don't want to talk about Hamas or Hezbollah or Israel or Iran or Ukraine and Russia or China probably going to move over and try to take over Taiwan now. I don't want to talk about any of them. I just want us out of all of them. One thing that I saw or heard on news lately was Mr. Joe Biden, continuing his push for relieving student loans. Relieving student loans. Doesn't that sound nice? Oh, we're just going to wipe away this student loan. Now, why do I have to pay for that? Why does the U.S. taxpayer have to foot the bill for everybody's college debt? Nobody can ever give me a good reason for that. And I was talking with somebody just last night who seemed to think that it was a good idea. And I said, why should I have to pay for your student loans? And rather than coming up with an answer, any answer, that person changed the subject. They're like, well, do you agree with everything that our government does? No. In fact, I agree with maybe 10% of what our government does. Very little. And it all goes back to a James Madison quote. It's a lengthy quote, but it's one that we should all be familiar with. If Congress can apply money indefinitely to the general welfare and are the sole and supreme judges of the general welfare, well, they may take care of religion into their own hands. They may establish teachers in every state, county, and parish and pay them out of the public treasury. They may take into their own hands the education of children, establishing in like manner schools throughout the Union. They may assume the provisions for the poor. They may undertake the regulation of all roads other than post roads. In short, everything, from the highest object of state legislation down to the most minute object of police, would be thrown under the power of Congress. For every object I have mentioned would admit the application of money and might be called, if Congress so pleased, provisions of the general welfare. If you go reading any of the bills that have been passed in the last couple of years, they all start with why they say it's constitutional. And they all claim general welfare. Well, Madison's argument in that speech was that the general welfare is regarding the 17 powers listed in Article 1, Section 8. And that's it. Congress can't be the ones who decide what is or isn't general welfare, because if Congress is the ones who decide what is or isn't general welfare, they'll do whatever the frick they want to do. And that's exactly what we have in our world today. That's exactly how we got here. The general welfare clause. So student loans, well, that falls under the general welfare clause. Foreign aid, well, they probably call that general welfare too. Because there's another Madison quote, and I didn't think ahead and look this one up, but there's another one when there were some refugees from the island of Hispaniola. Somebody was trying to get Congress to pass a bill for some aid to these refugees. And the dollar amount of that aid in today's money would have been like 30 grand. And Madison stood up and said, I can't find the article in the Constitution. I can't put my finger on the article of the Constitution that allows us to spend public money on benevolence. Madison said it is not the federal government's job to fund charity. Look how much money we send out in the form of charity. All the foreign aid that goes out of our country, all of the domestic aid that we give to the poor. That is not the job of the federal government. We all know the federal government is a ginormous, wasteful bureaucracy that costs more than it's worth. Who do you think would be better at feeding the poor people, the homeless people, the starving people in your town? Your local town council or your local churches, your local charity, or the federal government? I don't think anybody can argue that the federal government does it better, but they certainly do it. They do whatever they want because they've expanded the general welfare clause to mean whatever they want it to mean. We've got to take that back. We've got to bring back the original intent, the original meaning of the Constitution back into our politicians. I was working on an article earlier today. It probably won't be done and posted for a couple of weeks, but I was just working on an article about Grover Cleveland. And I personally think Grover Cleveland may have been the last constitutional originalist to hold the office of president, to have a seat in the White House. I think he was the last originalist, the last one who really believed in a limited government. Not just a small government, a limited government. And there's a difference there. And most people don't understand the difference because they probably never think about it. You can have a small government that's all powerful and does whatever it wants. We need a limited government, a government limited by the Constitution, a government who does not exercise powers that we, the people, never granted to it. And where's the list of powers that we, the people, granted to our government? The U.S. Constitution. Most of them in Article 1, Section 8. We need to bring that back. Well, you know what else we need? We need carry insurance. If you have a firearm, you need carry insurance. If you have to use your firearm, you are going to be sued and or arrested and or charged with crimes. We've seen the news. Good people standing up, defending their stores, defending their families, defending their lives. And they're charged with crimes. And it can happen to you, and it can ruin you financially. You need carry insurance. We all need carry insurance. Now, I use Right to Bear carry insurance. It's the most affordable carry insurance on the market. Plans start at $11 a month. And that's the plan that I have, is the $11 a month plan. With code LIGHTHOUSE at protectwithbear.com, you can save 10% off. So that $11 a month becomes, $9.90 or something like that. That's protectwithbear.com. Use code LIGHTHOUSE. And it's not just me that says it's the most affordable carry insurance on the market. That's a study from Pew Tactical that said that. And I was actually a member and carrying my own Right to Bear insurance before I brought them on as an affiliate sponsor of the show. I do believe in their product. I'm not just trying to make a buck. Look into them. Promise you it's worth it. Protectwithbear.com. Use code LIGHTHOUSE when you check out. All right, so how do we get this back? How do we get the Constitution back? How do we get our government shoved back down into the confines, the four walls of the Constitution? I don't know the answer to that. But I'm interested to talk to Paul here in 45 minutes or so, Paul Engel from the Constitution Study, because he wants to talk about the speaker race, Speaker of the House challenges that are going on right now. And I think that might be part of it. The Freedom Caucus, they've never had this much power before. And this goes to show you that a couple of votes can make a difference. It took one member of Congress to stand up and vote out Speaker McCarthy, or to ask to vacate the chair. And it doesn't take a whole lot of people to elect one member of Congress. Now, I didn't really like Speaker McCarthy. I thought Speaker McCarthy, well, he's been there too long and he's turned into a swamp critter. He had humble roots. Didn't grow up with a whole lot. Always wanted to be a politician. But he's been there too long. He gets on TV and he says all the right things. And then he goes back behind closed doors and negotiates and comes out with a bill that doesn't match what he said. He did that enough that I didn't like him and I didn't trust him. I didn't want him to be elected speaker the first time around. I was hoping for somebody else. Honestly, I'd like to see like a freshman, a first term member of the House become speaker, because they don't have that corruption yet. They haven't been paid off by lobby groups yet. They haven't learned how to do all the backroom deals yet. The longer they're there and they grow up into these leadership positions, the less I like them, the less I trust them. So anyway, thanks to Sarah Nichols for sharing out the show on all the social media sites. And you can do the same. That's one way that you can help the show that doesn't cost you anything. And Sarah also says that I'm not a terrible person for not wanting to talk about all the wars. And I don't want to talk about them. But I don't know how to get the country back. I'm getting tired. I'm doing as much as I can do. I'm doing so much. I'm tired. I'm writing books. I'm writing articles. I'm doing interviews. I'm doing this show. All while I'm working full time and trying to keep my wife happy. Something's going to have to give. I can't do it all myself. And neither can you. No one of us can. But John Q. Public needs to understand the original intent of the Constitution and the original intent of the government created by our Constitution. It's the only way we can possibly save this republic. Nobody reads it anymore. They don't teach it in school anymore. Millions of people every year raise a hand and swear an oath to it. Every federal employee, every state and local executive branch employee, every elected official in this country, literally millions of people every year, swear an oath to a constitution that most of them haven't even read. And then Harvard Law School doesn't even teach it anymore. We're putting out lawyers that don't learn the Constitution anymore. They learn case law about the Constitution. They learn what some other judge said about what some other judge said about the Constitution. That's not how the Constitution was written. It was written for we the people. It is written in plain language so that we the people can use it to hold our government accountable when they step outside the bounds. But we haven't done that in decades. We need to do it again. Personally, I think we should bring back tarring and feathering. Every time a politician does something stupid, drag him into the street and tar and feather him. Don't hurt him, just embarrass him. Every time they do something stupid. We'd have to invest in a lot more tar and a lot more feathers. All right, we're coming up to a break. I want to remind you, I'm giving away another book tonight. So if you missed it at the beginning of the show, go to liberty-lighthouse.com. Click the big blue win a book link. Big blue button right at the top of the page says win a book at liberty-lighthouse.com. In about a half an hour or so, we will draw a number and a name on air, live on air, and announce who the winner will be. You can get your copy of A More Tyrannical King, How the Federal Government Became More Oppressive Than King George, by yours truly, book number 3. Book number 4 is coming along quite well, too, I must say. It's going to be bigger than any of my other ones, and it's taking a lot more research than I was anticipating or hoping for. But hopefully it's going to be good. I like it. Trust Shatters. It's basically a big documented list of reasons to not trust government. Got to put some limits around that. Otherwise, it would be an endless book. It goes on forever and ever and ever. All right. liberty-lighthouse.com. Big blue win a book button right at the top of the homepage. click it, maybe a little book. Be back in 3 minutes with Scott Thompson on the other side of the break. Peace.
You're off air.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Scott Thompson.
Hey, how are you?
I am super freaking fantastic. How are you?
I'd be better if I had hair that looked like yours right now. I'm liking the haircut.
Not a haircut. I just wore a hat all day.
Well, you should do that more because it looks great.
Kind of matted it down, you know.
Got a little flyaway here. Yeah. So how are things in the world?
I don't know. If you look at the news, the world's falling apart.
Yeah.
We're all gonna die any day now.
Yeah. One thing for certain, we're all gonna die at some point.
At some point, yeah.
Yeah. Just I'd hope it's not within the next month.
That would be bad. All right, so ready to talk less lethal forms of self-defense?
Let's talk. Let's do it. Let's talk about pepper balls.
Pepper balls and tasers.
Yep.
And I don't know, carrying a pocket full of rocks, whatever.
I have a good story about taser usage.
Okay.
Can I talk about it? It hit him in the penis. Can I talk about it on the air?
Sure. Yeah.
Okay.
Kurt.
It's a funny story. I was there for it. I didn't pull the trigger the first time. I pulled the trigger the second time. And
look over look at the YouTube chat there.
I can't see.
Somebody wants to vote for the meteor of 2024.
Oh.
I actually posted, I think it was 2016. I saw a giant meteor 2016 bumper sticker and took a picture of it, posted it on social media. I thought it was hilarious.
That's great.
I'm just not feeling this tonight, man. I'm supposed to be on a live show and I'm like, cynical, mean, pissy old man.
I felt bad. My wife is doing a thing at the church tonight and I was supposed to go with her and I was like, babe, it's Thursday. I got other commitments. So she understood, but I was like, no, I got things I got to do. You get to go again next Thursday.
I mean, I was going to say, you can, let me know and I can do a show without you. It's okay.
Yeah. And I've done that, I've had some illnesses or whatnot, but we've got a series of Thursdays. So missing one won't end it all.
You're not going to get a divorce over it or anything like that.
No. No, but she did bring a dog into the house. So
We recently got a dog too. We've had him for like 4 months now.
Oh, we've had it for 10 days and they've been wanting to give it back since day 2. And I'm the one who didn't want the dog. And now I'm the one fighting to keep the dog.
Oh, I love my Dexter.
Our dog is such a sweetie. She's very, very, very good.
All right, we're back.
We're back. Just like that. Little Peter Gabriel for you. Hey, welcome back. I'm Peter Safering. Please remember to share out the show on your social media. Send it to your friends, your family, any liberal nut job out there that needs to learn a little bit about common sense. Send it to everybody. We don't get help from these giant company algorithms or anything like that. We rely on you, the listeners and viewers, to help us spread the word. And use the promo codes and buy the merchandise. Do whatever you can to support these free speech networks. Republic Broadcasting Network, Mojo 50 Radio, Patriot Nation Radio Network. They all need your help all the time. This is not a cheap thing. There's like lots of equipment, lots of fees, website fees and broadcast fees and licensing fees and all kinds of stuff. So help them out. Buy their merchandise, use their promo codes, and share their content. Greatly appreciated. Joining me now, as promised, Mr. Scott Thompson from Right to Bear Insurance. And my soundboard went to sleep. I don't have your intro.
Oh, that's all right. That's right. I can still hear it in my head.
Okay. I use a what do you call this? A tablet, an electronic tablet over here as my soundboard, and I didn't touch it enough. It went to sleep.
And now, welcome to the studio, FFL holder, firearms instructor, and representative for Right to Bear Arms Insurance, and all-around badass, Scott Thompson.
You just like it when he calls you a badass.
I can't say I don't like it.
All right, so I've been looking into less lethal devices. So I'm constable here in Pennsylvania. Election day is coming up pretty soon, and I have to spend election day at the polling stations in uniform, and I carry my 9mm Beretta or my 45. I don't know. Depends on what kind of mood I am in that morning when I wake up, but usually my Beretta. And I always, I've got a baton and I've got pepper spray. But I'm thinking a baton and pepper spray are both, they're pretty up close and personal devices.
Yes.
So I was looking for something in the interim where I don't necessarily have to kill the guy, but I can still get him while he's far enough away that he can't hurt me.
Right.
So the first thing that came to mind was a taser. And, well, the good ones are really expensive.
Yes. Yes, they're not cheap.
And the cheap ones are cheap.
Yes. Yeah. and I can tell you this, the taser is not foolproof.
Right.
Because it's shooting two different prongs, and they both have to connect to complete the circuit for the electricity to happen. It's not foolproof, especially with you living in the Northeast. We're starting to get into the colder weather. People are wearing thicker jackets.
Mm-hmm.
Things like that will affect or can affect the usefulness of the taser if it doesn't complete the circuit.
And Curtis over in the YouTube chat room says Taco Bell will work.
Yeah. Just get some of their packets and just put a little puncture and squeeze them real tight.
I'm thinking if he eats it. Here, have a burrito.
That might clear people away. But I can tell you this from experience, tasers are effective. I have been shot with one. I'll share the video with you sometime. I decided when I was in law enforcement to say, hey, when are you guys going to shoot me with a taser? And they said, right now. We're doing a training, so we'll film it. And they did, and it hurt. I couldn't do anything. There was no movement I could do.
Right.
They are effective when they work. But the downside, so in the civilian stance, the taser cartridge is a 30-second ride. Because what they expect you to do in the civilian stance or the civilian to do is shoot, run. And then they do have, so at least I know Axon, which is the old taser, is now Axon Industries. They offer if you file a police report, they'll give you a free replacement. So you don't have to worry because you said, they're $700, some of them.
Yeah.
And that you don't want to have to worry about that. They'll send you a free replacement. But if they don't work and you're only carrying one cartridge, then you're kind of in an factor.
Well, I'm looking at whatever I get as just to be here, I'm going to try this first, and if that doesn't work, I'm going to shoot you.
There you go. Yep. And the taser could be effective for that. I will say you talked about previously. We were talking about the pepper spray balls.
Yeah.
One thing I like too is Saber has a pepper spray gun.
Mm-hmm.
That it's not the balls, it's a stream, but it goes out about 18 feet. So you do have a better control of the function and the distance. But what's great about it too is if you're already, obviously you're already a gun person, so using it is going to come second nature. It's point, pull the trigger, and you can just move around. The pepper balls, the downside of that is there have been times that I've witnessed in some applications where the ball bounces and doesn't open up, and a bounced pepper ball does nothing.
Right.
If it doesn't open up. So if you're looking at the gun, I like the Stream one. Like I said, I'm an instructor for Saber Red. So I'm a little bit biased, but theirs work really well, and it gives instead of like a cone, it gives more of a direct spray, and it'll last. It'll last as long as you need it to. And then if that doesn't work, because I've seen people go right through that, then you go to your gun and you can say, "But I tried."
Yeah, that's what I'm getting at is the I tried. So let's be honest, as a constable guarding a polling station, the most likely thing I might have to deal with is two people just start fighting.
Right. Yep.
And I thought the pepper ball gun would be good for that because the pepper balls, when they work, put out a cloud of spray roughly 6 foot diameter.
Yep.
So I shoot once and I get both of them.
Yep.
I don't have to aim at faces or anything like that. It just holds generalized area.
Yep.
But yeah, if they bounce, that's not good.
No. One good thing is now maybe they're rolling around on the ground with the taser. If you just shoot at them, the mess of cords will come out over them. And as they're wrapping up each other with it, they'll just keep getting that ride both together. So if they're already fighting and they're rolling around, the taser could be good. So do you know where taser comes from, by the way? The word taser?
No.
It was named out. It's the Thomas A. Swift electric rifle from books that were written, turn of the century. But that's where the acronym taser came from. So it's
no idea.
Pointless knowledge.
That's not pointless. It's fun. Curtis says to make sure to never cross your streams.
That's right. Until the second movie, and then you have to cross the stream. So I guess there are times.
Right. So did you? Okay, so you just said I forgot what company already.
Saber.
Saber. So you're a Saber instructor. Did you look into the ball guns to figure out which ones are better than others? Because there's a huge price gap in them. They go from like $75 or $80 a piece up to $500.
Yeah, and there is a big the one that I keep seeing a lot of good things about was, let me look at a Grimberg.
Ooh. I don't even think I saw that one.
And that one I've seen good things about. Certain models of it will have a flashlight with it. Now you're at the polls, flashlight's probably not too important.
No.
But if this is something that maybe you'd carry on other occasions.
Well, and that's also a possibility. My beautiful wife has her carry license, but she does not carry.
Yep. And this might be something that gets her into the carrying, and not lethal, but get her used to, or at least making room, because she's probably going to keep it in a purse.
So concealed carry purse.
Oh, those are great. I highly recommend those to anyone that's going to conceal carry.
She just never walks upstairs and opens up the gun safe and gets it out and puts it in.
Yep. That happens a lot. And this might be something that helps solve that, because sometimes, people feel like if I have it, I'm going to use it all. Like, I'm going to need it. Maybe she gets into that habit of carrying one of the pepper ball guns, and she realizes, hey, you know what? I don't need it, but if I did, it would be nice to have. So it might kind of ease her into carrying something.
Well, I was thinking about it because, like tonight, she's at a meeting while I do this show. She'll be coming home her meeting's over in 20 minutes, so she'll be coming home in 30, 40 minutes. And I'm looking outside, and the sun's going down. It's getting dark already.
Yep. It'd be nice to have. And like I said, the one, the Grimberg, with them having the light on it is nice. Not even just for identifying who you're shooting at, because if someone's attacking you and they're attacking you, you might not care so much for the light at that moment, but running away, if you're in a dark area, you don't want to trip over a log or something, or a ditch, and end up, now they're coming after you still. So having that light can be very helpful.
Well, and so we got a dog like 4 months ago, and we're constantly walking him. And I'm the guy who thinks that the one time I leave the house without the handgun is when I'm going to need the handgun.
Yep.
And much the same, handgun is upstairs in the handgun safe. And sometimes we're sitting on the couch and she just says, "Hey, let's go do X." And we just jump up and go. And I don't take the time to walk upstairs and get it.
Yep.
Something like that, whether it's a taser or a pepper ball gun or a pepper spray gun, any of them.
Yep.
I leave that in the little side table by the front door.
Of course. Yeah.
I wouldn't feel like I needed to have that locked up all the time.
Yep. Yep. You could grab it as you're walking out and you're good to go.
I've also thought about getting a second quick access safe and putting one of those by the door.
I was just going to say, this seems like a really good reason to get another quick access safe and another gun. Maybe you need another one to put by the door. Christmas is around the corner.
Well, I don't need. Let me say this carefully. It would not be necessary for me to get another gun in order to have one by the door and one by the bed. We'll just put it that way.
Right. But it could be a good reason. Not that you need another gun, but it could be a good reason to have another gun, you know?
Yeah.
Sometimes men are always looking for reasons to get another one.
Right.
So
what's the proper number of guns to have?
As many as you need plus one.
Yeah, it's whatever you have now plus one is how I always looked at it.
Yeah, that's very good.
I was just talking about this with a friend. I have a rifle, a beautiful, like 19th century Winchester lever action. It's beautiful. Can't find ammo for it anywhere.
Yep. What caliber is it?
32-40.
Oh yeah. Yep. And that's the thing. Some of the, and we've learned this through COVID.
Yeah, well, that's when like COVID hit and boom, you couldn't find it at all.
Yep.
And now there's a couple of like little weird companies making it for $5 a round or something.
Right. Yeah. And that's the thing. We're learning that they're seeing what rounds are going to sell the most, and they're focusing on those. I mean, because I still find it hard sometimes to get 410. There are some rounds that are just harder to get. When you start getting into rounds like that, that's low on the totem pole for mass production because there's not going to be a lot of buyers. So
the Beautiful Wife's 32 ACP was one that was slow to come around and find, but it is back. So I have my fingers crossed, hoping that the 32-40 will come back because that's just such a nice rifle, and I haven't really been able to play with it.
Yep.
Because when I got it, I only got a handful of rounds, and I don't. And
you probably thought, I'll just pick up more when I need them.
Right. And God forbid I run out.
Yep.
So whenever I want to feel like an old cowboy, I get out the Henry and pretend that it's my Winchester.
It's funny. In dealing with a lot of people at some of the gun stores that I go to, how many people think that Henry is this ultra old company that's just always been here in America? And it's like, it's not that old. They're here in America. They're good guns, but they're not that old. But some people just feel like, I don't know why, they feel like it's been around forever.
What's the oldest weapons manufacturer on the planet?
Is it Colt?
Beretta.
Wow.
Beretta's been doing it since like the 14th century or something.
Wow.
They were like making spears.
Man, that's a long time.
I might be exaggerating a little, but they've been around for a really, really long time.
Yeah. Do you know what Glock's first weapon of war, or weapon that was purchased by a government for war was?
No.
A knife. They were doing knives, and that's why they still have knives and shovels. But yeah, their first contract was for knives.
Curtis says you need a 22 410 over under as a squirrel rifle. 22 410. I don't know. You know, 2 weeks in a row now, Sarah from Oregon has been the only person that's called into the show. And look, Sarah from Oregon is on line one. Welcome to the show, Sarah.
Hi. We need to lift each other's content up in the right wing sphere. We're not working against each other. We're working with each other. Just, you say, bye.
Bye. Well, Sarah was very proud of the fact that 2 weeks in a row went by, and she was the only person that called in. She sent me a message on Facebook or Twitter or somewhere afterwards. It was like, that's 2 weeks in a row.
Well, let's hope by the next time I'm on, she's on 6 weeks in a row or 7, wherever I fall.
What, you don't want anybody to call into my show except her?
No, I don't want her to be the only one. No, I want her to be a caller.
Oh no, she calls. She calls
Okay.
almost every week, if not every week.
Okay, so
the last 2 weeks,
and
she's been the only person that's called.
All right.
Which makes
next time I'm on, I'll have my wife call.
I was going to say, which is making me feel like I'm doing a terrible job as a host if I can't get people to call in. Anyway, so I mentioned Beretta being like the oldest weapons manufacturer around. I've got the Beretta 92, and the wife has a Beretta Tomcat, the little 32 ACP with the pop-up barrel, so you don't ever have to rack it.
Yep.
Which is a really, really cute gun.
I like it. I think it's great for people who have a hard time racking the slide. I like it.
Yeah. So that's her concealed gun that she doesn't conceal anymore. Like that's what she bought for that purpose. And then my throat in my pocket, just because sometimes you don't want a big thing on your waist, so you have a little pocket pistol.
Yep.
My little pocket pistol is an AMT backup. Have you ever seen those?
I don't think I have. I'm going to pull that up now.
Yeah, the AMT backup. It's an all stainless steel. It's probably the first micro 380, and it was specifically designed to be a police officer's backup weapon. It has no safety. It is. There's, I don't know. It's a 380.
Yeah.
Semi-auto, completely basic, no safety, and good hard trigger pull. No sights. There's just a groove down the top of the slide.
Wow. I'm looking at one now. That's interesting. Of course, on here it's called an AMT throwdown. I'm sorry. No, it is a backup.
But that I am having the hardest time because it's such a hard trigger pull. Because there's no safety.
Yep.
It's such a hard trigger pull, and because there's no sights, it's just that groove down the top of the slide. I'm having a really hard time getting any accuracy out of it.
So one thing I've learned with that, since you don't have sights, it's not important. It's going to be kind of counterintuitive. It's not important to center it on your body,
right?
Like you would. So what you kind of want to do is get it just a straight arm out with your strong arm. Get your strong arm straight out. Bring the other hand up for support if you need it, and kind of almost as you're I'm trying to get my finger here right. As you're blading your finger along the side, you're kind of pointing to where it's going to go, and then pull into the trigger and pull back. You almost have to just straight arm, not worry about getting in the center, and kind of turn your body a little. That's what I've done with some guns that I don't have much accuracy with straight for reasons, is a little bit more of a turned shot and keep the arm straight, and you'll get accuracy that way.
Curtis says, look up the Ithaca Mag 10.
Ithaca Mag 10.
It's a gas-operated shotgun. And while you do that, Thomas in New Mexico, line 1, welcome to the show.
Yeah, it may be a little off topic. I just want to share, and people may disagree, but I want to share what I believe what's going on. Israel, the Zionists, they're a terrorist nation, and the United States is supporting, backing up Israel.
All right. Well,
I'll
I
tell
said
you-
at the beginning of the show, I don't want to talk about it. I'm not interested in talking about anybody's foreign wars in any country. It's not just Israel or Ukraine. I don't care.
Well, it was a false flag attack, and they're doing that to kill innocent Palestine children and families. Genocide is taking place in Gaza.
Okay. Don't want to talk about it.
Well, you may want to care because our own government is going to do that to our own people here in the United States.
Our own government has financed every war. Our government has financed pretty much every war on this planet for the last 70 years, which is why I don't want to talk about it, because it's just a waste of money and it doesn't do anything but pisses anybody up.
Our Constitution was written by Freemasons.
I don't care. I don't care if it was written by a one-armed black man with 3 testicles. It's a good document.
No, our Constitution takes away our freedom. Listen to Michael Gaddy
I've
on
listened to
RBN.
Michael Gaddy. I don't agree with him. Read the Constitution for yourself.
Well, you may
Read it.
disagree, but he's speaking the truth.
Read it for yourself. Don't listen to what I say about it. Don't listen to what Michael Gaddy says about it. Don't listen to what anybody says about it. A 10th grader can read it and understand it for himself. Go read it yourself.
I have,
Inform
and I know
your
the
opinion.
Constitution takes away our freedoms. The Constitution was written by satanic Freemasons.
Whatever,
founding
Thomas. I'm
fathers
done with you. Thanks for calling. See you. Bye-bye. Mike in line 3. Thanks.
Oh, hey. I wasn't expecting to get on this quick. I had a lawyer who was on the Maryland Disciplinary Commission for the Bar Association. His, I think, ex-wife is the mother of his son, who was a Maryland State Police, and he was in the homicide division. The mother was over the state attorney's homicide division. And while we were talking to the guy, he pulls up this thing called, I think, the Judge. There's 2 versions.
Oh, yeah.
They're basically
The Judge.
410. They're 410 6-shooters, I think. I think one of them may shoot 5 and the other shoots 6. I don't know. One's made by Taurus and the other one's made by Smith & Wesson.
Yep.
But they
Taurus
shoot.
Judge and the Smith & Wesson Commander? No, that's not it.
Well,
No. Yeah,
you can
they're all,
find
I
videos
want
of-
that's on my wish list.
There's no ballistics. That's what spooked me about this. After we left this lawyer's office, we were trying to investigate what's going on, where this national nursing home corporation out of North of Maryland, Baltimore, was dumping all these nursing homes all across the country that were full of asbestos. They were built before like 1971. And so the principal for one of the shell corporations, for this guy that bought one in Texas off of another charity that had taken a $495,000 tax deductible contribution because it was donated, he signed for it, and this guy bought it for like $70,000 to pay off the back taxes and stuff. And the town was just like, every roadblock they could put up, he was wanting to put, like, he was trying to build a hostel basically. And he tracked down the corporation and the shell corporation, and the principal was shot in broad daylight in front of a barber shop. The Baltimore Sun did a stand-up video there where they said it was a targeted killing, but they couldn't do any ballistics on that pistol.
Yeah, it's a 45 Colt or 410 shotgun shell, and you put just like any shotgun, there's no ballistics on shotgun rounds.
Yep.
Right. So if you're looking for something like that,
I want one because I just like the idea of shooting shotgun shells from a pistol.
Well, they make that you can get them. The rounds come with like 3 balls or a slug or just different grades of shot. I mean, it's just like a shotgun. So, and you can reload it.
Yeah. Hey, Mike, we're coming up to a break, and I want to give our guests some time to wrap it up. Thanks for your call. So, did you look up the Ithaca Mag 10?
I did. I
know. I see pictures. I don't understand what's so special about it.
Well, I think it's semi-automatic. I think that's the only thing there's. And I had an opportunity. I don't know if I don't think it was the Ithaca, but I shot a semi-automatic shotgun 22 years ago when I was entering the police academy. It was neat, but I don't know. I still like the racking of the slide to get things going. I think that sends a message too.
Oh yeah.
Another thing, and I'm not telling people to commit crimes. I want to preface this, but another thing for Mikey to think about is you also don't have to worry about picking up shell casings to make sure you don't leave evidence behind with the judge. Again, don't commit crimes.
Right.
2 decades in law enforcement. But what I will tell people to do is make sure they buy your book so they can be the smartest listeners out there, and they know what's going on, and to use Lighthouse as their code when they go to protectwithbear.com to sign up for Right to Bear self-defense.
Absolutely. And I said it at the beginning of the show in the first segment, protectwithbear.com, code Lighthouse, Right to Bear insurance, the most affordable carry insurance on the market, and the carry insurance that I had even before I met Mr. Scott Thompson here and had him come on the show. Yeah. All right. Well, let's see. What do we got going on? It's commercial break. Paul Engel. That's right. Paul Engel will be joining us on the other side of this commercial break. That's Paul Engel from the Constitution Study. And we're going to talk about the speaker nonsense in the House of Representatives. Thanks for coming, Scott.
All right, you're off there.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks, Scott.
Well, some listeners just don't respect you.
Yeah.
So
whatever.
Yep.
And I'm tired of people saying, listen to Michael Gaddy. I've listened to Michael Gaddy. Some things I agree with. Some things I think he jumped off the crazy train with.
Yep. And some of the stuff, when you go on to a show to argue with the host, I don't think anything productive comes of that. So I think you handled it very well.
And I'm willing to have a conversation. I like talking to people that disagree with me. I don't want to be preached to. And I definitely don't want to talk about a topic that I said I don't want to talk about.
Right. And I have some friends who are over in Israel right now and some extended family members. So I'm glad we didn't have to go into it and air sides and all that fun stuff.
War is wrong.
Yep.
I don't agree with how Israel was just carved out and made as a nation, but I also didn't agree with Sykes-Picot that drew the arbitrary lines for all of the Middle Eastern countries by Europeans.
Right.
Where they go in and say, well, France, here, you can take this part, and England will take this part over here, and paid no attention to the ethnical boundaries, the terrain boundaries.
Yep.
They just arbitrarily drew lines, and then they wondered why they've been at war ever since then.
Yep. So excellent. Well, I look forward to being on again in I guess it'll be November. We're almost through the year. This is insane.
Yeah.
Don't know where the year's gone.
Yeah, it's just flying by. I don't know. It doesn't feel like it lately to me.
Yeah.
I'm tired. It must be the seasonal affective disorder. I'm sad.
Getting dark sooner, so we must all be getting sad. I can tell you why I'm tired.
Dark.
I'm getting tired because now I'm the one who has to wake up at 6 a.m. to take the dog out for the first walk. And I'm usually up till midnight doing some other kind of work. And so, yeah, that's where I'm getting my sad. What's your dog's name? You said 4 months? Dexter. That's right. Yeah.
That was his name before we got him. We kept it.
Yeah. I'm trying to convince the family to change ours. It's Ivy, which I instantly associate with poison ivy. And ivy is a plant invasive species plant that chokes other plants out. So it's a very negative name. But my wife had a great idea. She saw it online, Indiana Bones, and then we can call her Indy for short. But yeah.
Kurt says if he's fenced in yard, just open the door.
Yeah, we're getting there. She's still too new for that. I can't wait to get there, Chris.
Got music coming in about 10 seconds.
10 seconds. Thank you.
All right, I'm going to bounce out. Thank you again. Have a wonderful day.
Bye, Scott.
Bye.
See you, Mark.
The American dream has become a nightmare. Signs of the time are on cardboard on corners in town. Like a cancer that's silently spreading, there's an unspoken fear. We're on our way down. We must take America.
Welcome back to the top of the second hour of National Intel Report live on Republic Broadcasting Network, Liberty Lighthouse on Mojo 50 Radio, Patriot Nation Radio Network, and the Liberty Lighthouse podcast. And, anywhere else you find the program. I promised you Paul Engel from ConstitutionStudy.com here in this segment of the show. He is not yet here. So you still have a little bit of time. Go to liberty-lighthouse.com and click that Win a Book button at the top of the homepage for a chance to win my latest book, A More Tyrannical King, How the Federal Government Became More Oppressive Than King George. Liberty-lighthouse.com. Click the Win a Book. And James in North Carolina, line 1. Welcome to the show.
Hey, how you doing?
Fan-freaking-tastic. How are you?
Well, just got done mowing, and you've been talking about guns, and I know a little bit about guns. First of all, the guy wanted you to look at the Mag-10, the Ithaca Mag-10, because it's a 10 gauge.
Okay.
It shoots like 2.5 ounce load up to a 3 ounce load of lead payload. It's a monster gun. Okay, and then you're talking about the AMT. Well, it is, but it's a semi-automatic cannon. And Remington makes a version of it called the SP-10.
Wow.
It's a licensed copy of it. And the AMT backup that you have is a gut gun.
Yeah.
It's not meant to be aimed. It's meant to come out, and it's been meant to be shot within 3 feet. Because I've had 3 or 4 of them.
Yeah.
That's all that is just to get off my gun.
It definitely does not have any accuracy to it, but it's small enough that I can drop it in my front pocket, and it doesn't look like I'm carrying a cannon with me.
Yeah. But what I'm trying to tell you, though, is it's not an aiming gun. It's what they call a gut gun. It's you stick it in somebody's gut and you shoot.
Yeah,
it's not meant for aiming or not. It's just to get off my gun.
Yeah, that was a spur of the moment purchase on my behalf. It was sitting in a local gun store. The handgun itself and 2 extra magazines, and I think it all done in total it was only like $150 or something like that. And I'm like, oh, well, for that I just have to buy it.
Well, the company AMT, they make they're defunct now, but they used to make a lot of different pistols. They used to make 22 Magnums back in the early 80s. Well, I mean the late early 90s. They made a 30 caliber carbine pistol. They've made 45s, all of them stainless steel. They're good guns. They're quality guns, but guess what? They were cheaply made, and they're from California.
Yeah. And I did a little research into it after I bought it, and apparently the company was bought and sold repeatedly, owned by different groups. And if you look at the even the AMT backup, if you do an internet search, you'll find many different versions of it where Apparently mine is one of the older ones that it doesn't have any safeties on it or anything like that. But as you move into the more modern ones, they did start to have safeties on them. And I did read
and
a lot of people having problems with them jamming, but I haven't had any problems with that.
Well, and they also made a 45 version of it too.
I can't imagine a 45 I can't imagine trying to shoot a 45 that small.
Yeah, but well, they were heavy, they were bricks, and they would go bang. And I've owned two or three of the AMT backups, the 380s, and I've seen a couple of the 45s, but they're gut guns. They're not what the old timers used to call gut guns. They weren't meant for you to go out and target shoot. They were within 3 to 3 yards. You know what I'm saying? It's just a strictly get off me gun.
Yeah.
Don't mess with me.
You know anything about
That's
the less lethal weapons? We were talking
no,
earlier about the pepper ball guns and tasers and all of that kind of stuff.
Well, I mean, I've looked at the pepper ball stuff, but I'm old fashioned. I just believe if I'm going to shoot you, I'm going to shoot you. I mean, I'm not going to play with you. I'm just going to shoot you.
Yeah, I was looking at them for my my election day duties as constable, where I have to put on uniform, and I just thought it'd be nice.
Well,
the most likely thing I'm going to have to deal with is a fight, and it would be nice to be able to have something that doesn't kill them as a first choice.
Well, I mean, I've been listening to the whole show. I've been mowing, and I've been listening to you. And when that guy told you to call the Mag 10, I was like, in the AMT, like I said, I carry a gun all the time, and I just peaceably try and just back away from it. I'm not in a constabulary kind of form, so. But I would go with just a taser or pepper spray. I
have pepper spray and a baton.
Yeah.
So I might just stay with those. But I was looking into them.
Well, I tell you right now, if they're fighting and you get them on the ground, the best thing to do is just tase one of them. A handheld taser, you hit them in the leg, you'll get both of them.
Right.
So.
Yeah.
But I figured I would throw that. Go ahead.
I was going to say, I've got one of those little stun gun flashlights. I could, like you said, just get one of them in the leg.
Yeah. But I mean, I was just wanting to clarify some things. The Ithaca Mag 10 is a 10-gauge shotgun. It has a phenomenal lead payload. So, it's like you can load up to a 3-ounce lead payload. That would be like 24 pellets of double-aught buck, true 33 caliber buckshot.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, put that into perspective. That's 3 12-gauge shotguns, 2 3/4 shotgun shells at one time.
Now, I pulled up a picture of it, but I'm here trying to do a show. I don't really have the ability to read and talk at the same time. But I'm looking at the pictures and it looks like a pretty nice gun. I didn't.
Oh, it is.
I didn't realize that it was the shoulder cannon that you've described.
Well, that's what it is. It is a bad weapon. I've got a Browning 10-gauge, and it'll shoot the same stuff. So, yeah, it's nothing to play with.
Not at all.
Well, y'all have a good one. I'm glad I could tell y'all that. And
hey, I appreciate
y'all have a good show.
Thank you very much, James. I appreciate the call. I appreciate learning about cool guns. Like I said in the last segment, talking with Scott and Curtis over in the chat room, or maybe it was what caller, I forget now. The Taurus Judge is one of the things on my wish list. Not that I have a need for it, but it's just the idea of shooting shotgun shells out of a revolver just sounds awesome. Anyway, apparently we are not going to have Paul Engel with us this evening. I don't know if he's having technical troubles, if he forgot. Checking my email now to see if maybe he replied and I didn't get it, but I don't see it. So we don't have Scott. So keep the calls coming, 512-248-8252. And you can always text 64 my right, 646-974-4487. And I've got a few people that have gone to liberty-lighthouse.com and entered the drawing to win a book. I'm going to give you just a few more minutes, and I'm going to do that drawing, and we're going to give away some books tonight here on air. And in the interim, I'll tell you about Romika Designs. ROMIKA designs.com. RomikaDesigns.com. My friend Ron does some really awesome laser engraving and laser cutting of some pretty neat stuff. He did a Valentine's Day gift for my beautiful wife. It's one piece of wood that's been cut out with this very intricate, like leafy pattern in the corners, and then another piece of wood behind it that was like laminated, and then engraved a poem onto it and put it all together. And it's really nice stuff. So custom laser engraved products at RomikaDesigns.com. ROMIKA designs.com. Use code Lighthouse when you're there. Save yourself a little bit of money. I greatly appreciate that. All right. And the Great Goose got also 2-ounce slugs. That Ithaca 10 mag, like, I can't imagine 2 or 3 ounces of lead all at once. That would hurt. But what I wanted to talk with Paul Engel about was the fight for the Speaker of the House right now. I'm really torn about whether that was a good idea by Matt Gaetz or not. I don't know if it's a sign that we're going the right way politically or not. But we'll continue that. Mike in Kentucky has one more thing about carrying. Mike in Kentucky, line 1, welcome.
Oh, a nonchalant self-defense thing you can carry around it. Do you drink coffee, tea, hot water, cold water, anything like that?
Yeah, I drink lots of coffee.
Well, Stanley makes a really good thermos that'll keep your hot coffee, hot for like 6 hours. Mm-hmm. And it has a neat little indentation rib right where the logo is, and you can flip that thing in a second through your hand and have it as a club. The dang thing probably weighs like 3 or 4 pounds. It's heavy steel, and you can pull a Crocodile Dundee with it, and you can find some like canned goods that are almost the same weight to practice with, where he threw the can and down the street and hit somebody.
Yeah.
In a person answer. So, I mean, that's something to consider. Is something like that. I mean, it's so you'd kill somebody if you weren't careful with it.
Well, yeah. And that's the thing with all of these less lethal weapons. Like, any one of them can kill somebody. I mean,
depends on where you hit them.
Well, yeah, a taser can kill somebody if they have a heart
condition. If they had a pacemaker, for sure. But if you swing at somebody sideways and hit them in the ear or the jaw, you might not kill them. They're going to have a miserable day. You can even hit them in the shoulder. But if you hit them on top of the head, they might be a walking dead man. If you don't knock them out, they have a subdural hematoma. Anyway, that's all I had. I forgot to mention that earlier.
That's all right. I appreciate you calling back.
All right. Thanks. Bye.
One thing about the less lethal weapon is I was considering something that I could use both when I'm putting on the uniform as constable to be my less than lethal, less than the pistol on my side, and something that I can leave by the front door of the house, so that whenever the wife or I or both leave the house and we don't feel like going upstairs to the handgun safe, there's something there. I don't know. I think the pepper ball guns look cool, but Scott brought up the point, like, what if they don't break? The pepper ball just bounces, and if it doesn't break open, it doesn't release the pepper, and then you just piss somebody off even more. Hey, I was going to ask Mike to pick a number, and I forgot. So the next person to call into the show is going to pick a number for the Win a Book contest. And even since the last time I said it, a couple more people entered the contest. So good luck to you all. Now back to the speaker thing. I'm not sure. I mean, it clearly looks like dysfunction. It looks like a Republican Party that has no control over itself. I mean, let's face it, Nancy Pelosi has those Democrats you doing a goose step. Like, they vote in a solid block all the time. And the Republicans can't even vote a speaker unanimously. So in some respects, that kind of looks bad. But in other respects, it shows that the Republicans aren't programmable robots, theoretically. And that, at least some of them think for themselves and have their own beliefs. So that's good. And then you got Matt Gaetz, who stands up. One guy stands up and says, I want to declare the speaker's chair vacant, and they have the vote, and he wins. Okay. Well, is that a win for the Freedom Caucus? Is that a win for the freedom-loving minority of the Republican Party? Does that show that the freedom-loving, liberty-loving Americans are starting to make an impact in our country and starting to get someplace? Or is that going to be the death nail of the Freedom Caucus? Don't get me wrong, I have no love loss for former Speaker McCarthy. Was not a big fan, never was a fan. I opened the show by saying that I think he was a swamp-dwelling swamp monster. He's been there too long. He played the games too well. Not what I'm looking for anymore in my politicians. But this could be good, or it could be bad. And I'm not sure how it's going to turn. I guess we won't really know until we find out who gets to fill the speaker's chair and how they do over the next year. What do you think about the vacant speaker chair and the whole nonsense that goes around it? 512-248-8252 or text 64 my rights. That's 646-974-4487. Like many things in politics, it could be good, it could be bad. There's a lot of signs in the world that, maybe the progressive movement is starting to die. Maybe the conservative right end of the political spectrum is starting to rise up and make a comeback. Maybe. We see these little signs. The progressive made this cancel culture thing. And for a long time, it was only Republicans and people, and basically not progressives, that were getting canceled. But then the cancel culture monster that was created by the progressives, well, it's gotten out of control. And now they're canceling their own. But on the other side, we've got the Bud Light controversy, where the conservative common sense people said, well, we'll try this cancel thing once. But did they really cancel? Like, was anybody really canceling Bud Light? Or did everybody just stop buying it? Because there's a difference. Last I heard, their sales are still down like 30% or something like that. If you look throughout history and you look at when there's going to be civil wars in countries and when there's real upheaval within a nation, it's usually, almost always, when somebody of political power, whether it's a person or a party, begins to lose that power. Is that what's happening now? Are the progressives here in the United States, are they starting to lose their grip? You look at the news, you read the signs, you see what's going on. There's a lot of signs that say that might be happening. But then the nonsense keeps going. The president still wants to forgive billions of dollars in student loans. You still have all of this going on simultaneously, I might add. So you've got the right side rise up, but the left side just keeps marching. They didn't even slow down. I don't know. Nobody has a crystal ball. We can't tell. We don't know. But something's going to happen. Something's got to happen. And the speakership, Donald Trump being elected the first time, that was a sign. Now, Speaker McCarthy being the first Speaker of the House ever removed from his office, that's a sign. Sign of change, for sure. We just have to wait and see good change or bad change. I don't know. Neither do you. But if you have an idea, if you have a thought, give me a call. 512-248-8252. Now, going back to... never mind. Tom from Utah. Something about non-lethals. What you got for me, Tom?
Well, you can take a shotgun shell, empty out the shot, repack it with rock salt.
Yeah.
And at close range, it will pretty much disable anybody because they powder the dusting of salt with some of the crystals actually burying themselves into your skin.
Yeah. Yep, and it'll really hurt. But I was looking for something.
It will hurt.
Something that I can carry with me all the time.
Well, if you have a judge,
that's a pretty big thing.
Shotgun pistol, you can.
Yeah, you could carry it. That's a pretty big pistol to be carrying around with you all the time. Wouldn't you agree?
Anyway, that's just another technique. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, you're carrying a cannon.
Which is why I want one, because it's a cannon. It's a handheld cannon.
But it is an extremely effective deterrent to anybody continuing their malfeasance.
Oh, yeah. We've had when I was growing up, there was an old farmer who was known to shoot rock salt at kids that would cut through his farm and trample his corn.
That works.
Yeah. It's a scary thing.
That way you don't have to salt your corn when you eat it.
Oh my goodness. Anything else for me tonight, Tom?
Anyway. Well, of course, the other thing that I worry about is can you pass PT, physical training, right? Physical test. So you got to take care of your number one tool first. Then the other tools are serviceable. But if you can't lift your weapon, you're not much good.
That's true.
If you can't do the infiltration course, you're probably not in really good condition to do battle with anybody.
I would agree with that.
So you got to take care of the number one tool.
I would agree with all of that.
Anyway, that was it. Just wanted to add salt to your savor.
Thank you very much, Tom. The old rock salt in a shotgun shell. That will definitely hurt. Curtis over in the YouTube chat room says, what about beanbag rounds? Yeah, they hurt, but are unlikely to kill you. Oh, dang it. I should have had Tom pick a number. Hey, Kurt, you're sitting there. You're in the video chat room. Pick a number between 1 and 48. I don't know. It's almost break time. Hopefully Curtis will hear that and he will pick a number between 1 and 48. We will announce the winner of the book on the next segment right after this 3-minute break.
Here's some homeowners. Are you in foreclosure, expecting to be served with a foreclosure lawsuit, or suspect your lender has coerced you into an illegal mortgage transaction? A huge number of mortgages made in the last 10 years have legal issues and are possibly defective. State laws and the U.S. Supreme Court have upheld that defective mortgage documents are grounds for foreclosure defense and for counterclaims in favor of the homeowner. If your mortgage signed since closing the loan, it may be defective and you may be paying the wrong party, and the lender may not have standing or the right to foreclose or collect payments under the law. If you would like to know if your mortgage is legal or not, or know if you are paying the right party, we can help. Our initial consultations are free of charge. We are not attorneys. We are legal researchers and work closely with experienced lawyers who know how to help you find the evidence to help you keep your home. Call toll-free 1-855-2-KEEP-IT. That's 1-855-2-KEEP-IT today.
Are you one of the millions of people who feel like there is a dark cloud hanging over their heads whenever they're using pharmaceutical drugs? For some, the short-term relief can turn into an opioid addiction nightmare. Have you ever wondered why CBD oil is a billion-dollar industry? It's because it works better than opioids and is actually healthy for you. However, CBD oil is stripped of all other helpful compounds found in the hemp plant. According to neuroscientists, the whole hemp plant, otherwise known as hemp paste, is even more effective than the chemically processed CBD oil. Are you ready to take back your health? You can try hemp paste for the price of a cup of coffee.
Hemppaste.com/RBN. Free shipping on orders over $50. See the banners for hemp paste at republicbroadcasting.org and visit hemppaste.com/RBN.
Hello from beautiful Colorado. My name is Samuel Jung Kei, and I am currently the lead Shilajit hunter and master herbalist for Colorado Shilajit Company. In this video series, I will be discussing what we believe is the greatest of all adaptogenic superfoods and the single greatest natural healing remedy gifted to us by Mother Earth. I think you too will become as excited by this incredible substance called Shilajit as we were and are after our discovery of this amazing gift right here in beautiful, colorful Colorado. You may already know Shilajit by other names: Shilajit, Momio, Momi, Mami, Mineral Pitch, Asphaltum, and others. Shilajit literally translates to destroyer of weakness and conqueror of mountains. Shilajit has been in use for thousands of years and is considered as the highest valued cure-all of any earthly substance.
Look for the Gold Mountain and medical symbol logo in banners on republicbroadcasting.org to watch the full video and see more information. Use code GORBN when ordering. That's GORBN.
Hey, welcome back. It's the final segment of tonight's show. I'm Peter Serafine, your host here. And we had Kurt in the video chat room picked number 7 on our list for the Win a Book prize, and that is congratulations to Mr. Chris Dickey. Chris Dickey just won all 3 of my books. I've got them already in an envelope, already addressed. I will get them in the mail to you probably tomorrow, if not Saturday for sure. Chris, congratulations. Going back to the phone lines, Dave in Mayas, line 1. Welcome to the show.
Hey, how's it going? I had a quick response to both of your questions. As far as the non-lethal, I would go with a good-sized monstrous flashlight that holds about 5 or 6 D-sized batteries. Put some Gorilla tape around the end so it don't fall apart when you start swinging it. And it doesn't look conspicuous. Put it in the hammer loop and looks like it belongs.
Again, I have one of those. I have I think it's a 6-cell mag light. that I bought many years ago when I was a security guard. And they wouldn't let me carry a weapon, so I bought a Maglite.
Yeah.
But I'm
Yep.
really
You don't
looking for
have one of
something.
those handy.
I'm looking for something that the wife could carry, I could carry it in uniform, out of uniform, something more, I don't know, user friendly, I guess.
Yeah, well, I guess they covered the bases with the tasers and such. My second comment was regarding the speaker. I do think not only is it the right time, it's overdue. They've never had to budge from their plan A. I come from the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, and here, as soon as the grassroots come alive and want to vote in a conservative, the establishment comes out and says, "Oh, you can't do that. You got to support our guy. Are you going to support the Democrats? And you're going to be a spoiler." And people always cower and wind up voting for the establishment rhino.
Right.
And they've trained us well. They never have to go from a plan A to a plan B because plan A always works. We've got to train them to not put forward substandard candidates.
Well,
he never should have been in there to begin with. So it wouldn't hurt my feelings if they didn't elect the speaker for another 6 months, to be honest with you.
Well, I personally think that the First Amendment should have stopped after Congress shall make no law, period. So here's my feeling. What about Steve Scalise? I mean, the whole idea is, Steve Scalise is next. He's next in line. He's the next most senior or whatever nonsense that they use. I don't give a crap how senior somebody is. I want somebody who's there to protect my rights.
Yeah, we need someone as close to a statesman as we can get. I'm very much not impressed with a lot of the window dressing that anyone from the two parties often flaunts out there. I've never heard anyone, as part of their campaign stumping, rush forward to actually, with a tangible plan to deconstruct, to make, like Ron Paul used to talk about with the Federal Reserve, at least make an alternative legal so that there's a legal competition. Let's put forward something, much different in small government. I'm tired of the campaign promises. Where are the statesmen?
Yeah, I agree. And even when you have somebody who actually wants to do the right thing, like let's look at Reagan as the example. Reagan campaigned on the idea of shrinking government, and everybody was on board. The people voted him in, like overwhelmingly voted him in. And then he gets in office, and everybody in Washington was like, "Oh yeah, we're all on board. You've got a clear mandate to do what you said you were going to do." But then that's
on us. That's our fault. You're right. They overwhelmingly elected Reagan in there. But then they took their hands off the wheel and just cut them loose. That's when the real attention should begin. That's what was meant by constant vigilance. They're more dangerous as an elected official than they are as a candidate. So we should have been right on him to keep him right. Big government will do what big government will do, and that's to corrupt the fledglings as early as possible. So he should have had those supporters continuously around him to keep him righteous.
Yeah. Well, if you read the books, they say that, like one by one, all of the cabinet heads came to him and said, I'm all for your idea. And yeah, we definitely need to shrink. But you can't shrink my department. My department can't afford it. You really can't get anything out of my department.
Yeah, none of those department heads wants to cut their own department.
Right.
But, we really got to take a look at what's causing a lot of the grief in this country right now. Evaluate those things that are extra constitutional, or what I call the new Soviet. The Department of Education is among those things that should be right on the chopping block in its entirety.
Absolutely. I completely agree. I believe like 90% of what our federal government does is unconstitutional or extra constitutional or communist or whatever. It needs to be chopped. But one person can't do that. You know, if a president, let's say tomorrow you elect me as president, and I have the iron will to resist all of the bribes and all of the threats and all of the, whatever, I have the iron will to resist all of the problems that come with the elected office. And I say, okay, Department of Education, you're all fired. Department of Transportation, you're all fired. Department of, EPA, you're all fired. The court's going to come back and say, well, you can't do that.
Yeah, I mean, it's going back to Ron Paul again. Yeah, I told a lot of the supporters at the time, even if we were to get him elected, he is one man. He's an island out there. And what needs to happen along with this is, the entire mechanism underneath. That's why he was pushing the precinct projects in development at the local level, because you really do need those ground troops in the support all around him. He would have had no support in Congress. Even Trump, he suffered from a lack of congressional support, or he could have done a lot more.
Right.
So the whole system is very ill and whittling away. I don't know how many years or decades it's going to take to get us right again, but there's no one man that's going to take the presidency and fix this.
No, and that's what we the people, and we the educated, those of us that pay attention to politics, we understand that the president can't fix everything. But I think there's a lot of people out there in John Q. public land that think that the president can do whatever they want, and that the one person can fix all of it. And that's the problem, is the vigilance that you mentioned earlier. We've taken our eye off the ball for 100 years now. We haven't really been paying that close of attention to Congress. We haven't had a true constitutionalist president in 100 years. I honestly think Grover Cleveland was the last constitutionalist president who actually worried about, is this constitutional or not? And I use his Texas Seed Act as an example often. Texas had years of drought, and the Texas farmers were broke. They're out of money because of years of drought, and they need seeds in order to try to grow again. And Congress passed a bill to give them seeds, give them money to buy seeds. And Grover Cleveland said, veto, this is not our job. This is not the federal government's job. But today, that would have been passed almost unanimously through Congress, and the president would sign it and have a big bloody press conference about what a beautiful and wonderful thing it is.
Oh yeah, they're trying to fund preschool lunches and all kinds of things that are just none of government's business. Excusing loans. That's not something the government should be in there doing. It's a horrible example to give to young people about to enter the working world. You can defunk on your loans. They're constantly dabbling things that are just simply none of their business and have no real authority to do.
Why do you think they do it? You personally, why do you think that they do all of this crap?
I think all put together, it's part of the pressures of social engineering as they massage us into place for what they view as an ideal citizen. They're boiling the frog. And I think that's kind of what it is. It's a collection of social pressures, because this rot exists really almost everywhere around us. Wouldn't you agree?
Absolutely. But I wonder, maybe I'm naive, and I wonder if that the people that are doing it because they honestly believe, this is the right thing to do in this one particular incident, and this is the right thing to do in this one particular incident, and that they're not a coordinated effort to destroy the country. It just happens to be destroying the country.
Yeah, I think people are passionate about, like the environmental movement. I'm an environmentalist. I've had a deep appreciation for the environment since I was a very young child. And I do believe in being good stewards of the land, even when nobody's watching. And I know that that's a hot passion with people across this political spectrum, including the Democrats, who have been basically taken over by progressives. So it's gone to an extreme environmentalism. It's not the environmentalism that, myself and a Democrat could team up on. This is stuff that's so polarized and extreme that it doesn't allow for the coming together of the people.
Yeah, I mean, I think everybody wants clean air and clean water. But when you have a group of scientists that have been wrong for 50 years, every couple of years they say, well, the Earth is going to die. We're all going to die in 10 years if. And they've been doing that for 50, 60, 70 years, and it's never happened. They haven't ever been right. It's hard to believe them, and it's hard to take them seriously. But we all want clean air.
You know what really irks me is that in the college life, these political science majors get just enough science. It's like the bare core minimum requirement of science, and it's just enough for them to be skeptical of God, for one thing, but for another, that really makes them vulnerable to this whole climate change nonsense, because of their lack of understanding, of just a little bit deeper understanding of science, chemistry, molecular chemistry and things like that. When I took environmental science, I had to take a lot of organic, inorganic chemistries, or inorganic soil contaminants, a lot of chemistry. And I quickly came to the conclusion that there's no way that a big bang all of a sudden created all of this, that God's hand was in this all the way. But I had an understanding now. So when I see Al Gore and his hockey shaped growth curve, I know that he's blowing smoke up my general direction too. But there's not enough science for your political science majors to understand what they're even legislating right now.
I don't even think they need to have. I don't even think they need to have. I'm sorry. I don't think they even need to have these political these degrees, these educations. I'm old enough to remember when I was a child in elementary school being taught that paper grocery bags were the cause of deforestation of the Amazon, and that plastic bags were going to save the planet. And now I just went to like the trendiest grocery store in my town last week, and they completely did away with plastic bags, and they've gone back to paper.
Well, when they did that, they changed the way, because all the policies and regulations made the production of these things change. And like they did with wires in our cars and piping in our home, they started incorporating cheap vegetable oil and things that were biodegradable. So these bags, these horrible plastic bags, actually photodegrade and biodegrade in no time at all.
Yeah.
So, that whole
if you lay them out in your backyard. But let's face it, nothing biodegrades in a landfill. It gets buried in an oxygen-deprived environment. Nothing biodegrades in a landfill because nothing can live in a landfill. So it's all marketing.
Yeah,
Buy my biodegradable bag.
Yeah, I mean, out in the environment, it's a different story. But you're right. In a landfill situation, it goes anaerobic quick, and you get partial decomposition unless it leaks out into the environment. And then, once the aerobic things get working on it, that all changes. But, yeah, the real environmentalism requires a little bit deeper understanding of some of the basics. You bring up, aerobic and anaerobic environments. that can influence a lot of things in life that government is now regulating. Climate, understanding how heat and temperature has moved around the planet, the greater cycles that exist over thousands of years. Here in the Northeast, I could take somebody, go find someone with a backhoe and dig a 10-foot hole, and I can show them what the glaciers laid down here the last time they came through. I had a mile of ice over my head at one point, right where I'm sitting now, and it'll happen again. But people don't understand that. Climate change is real, but if we address it in a proper aspect, we've got to be thinking about long term. What can we do to move agriculture to the temperate zones? Because there's big parts of the country we're not going to be able to use. There's literally a mountain of trash swirling around out in the ocean. Could that be netted, pulled together, and terraformed into literally floating farms? Could we move and float agriculture on the sea? Get people thinking outside of the box, and how, 5,000 years from now, when the climate is drastically different, how are we going to cope? Science and entrepreneurs and the free market will handle this as organic pressures come upon us for everything from agriculture to building to whatever.
Yeah. Well, I don't think anybody can argue that climate change doesn't exist, because, you go to any desert on the planet and you can find fossils of sea life. And like you said, you can dig a hole 10 feet deep and you can see what the glaciers lay down. Like, I live right outside Penn State, and you can, every spring you see the new Penn State students on the side of the highway where the highway was cut through a mountain, studying the layers of rock that were cut through. Climate change is real. Climate change takes thousands of years. Climate change happened long before mankind was here. It will happen long after mankind is gone. So,
one of the parallels that exists, if you look at other civilizations and societies as they came into power, the Mayans and so on and so forth, all societies that thrived and grew happened during the warming period, and every single time there was a collapse, it happened during the cooling period. That's a big lesson that we should take, is that we've got to, and like I said, natural pressures will happen over time. Government's just trying to cut the time frame down so that they can gain control in the process.
Right, they just want money. Because somehow taking more of my money to spend on projects that may or may not ever work at all is going to fix the problem. That's the part that frustrates people and pisses people off. I have LED light bulbs. My entire house is LED light bulbs. I didn't do that because the government forced me to do it. I did it because the light bulbs got cheap enough that it was cost effective.
Yeah.
Government needs
you don't have to force a good idea.
Right. Government needs to stay the frick out of it and let the markets decide. Had the government 30, 40, 50 years ago said that, hey, car manufacturers, you've got to get your emissions below X per 100 miles traveled, and just let the car designers and engineers and everybody else in the car industry figure out how to get to that standard, we'd probably have much better cars now. But instead, the government says you have to get X number of miles per gallon. You've got to cut your emissions by this, and this, and this. And you've got to use this device and this device and this device and this device and this device, all of which rob the car of economy.
Yeah, they don't want that. I know two people personally. One of them was my grandfather's childhood friend, where the government bought him out. He was he didn't get out of the 7th grade, I don't think, but he was a mechanical genius, this guy. And, he had cars back then in the day that were getting the mileage of motorcycles, for crying out loud. And they came right in and bought him out and gagged him, basically, bought his idea and sat on it. So they don't want that. They want control. Initially, they wanted to be able to control the throttle, the tap, to keep prices as high as possible and make as much money off from oil as they can. But now it's become a control mechanism. Is they shift everybody, through artificial scarcity. They raise the prices of things so that people shift to electric vehicles. And this is just a means of control. They can just be shut off now.
Yeah, but what the government doesn't seem to understand is we, the people, will willingly and happily buy electric vehicles when electric vehicles are competitive. They're not competitive right now.
Agree.
And, I don't have a garage. Where am I going to plug it in? I live downtown and it's street parking. You think I'm going to put a charging station out front of my house where anybody and their brother can walk by and plug into it? No. So it's not a good option for me.
Yeah, my brother-in-law bought one of those, and every time he runs to bring his kid to school or run a quick errand, he runs right back. There's only one place he can park on his whole property, and that's where he put in a umbilical plug-in. He can go 40 miles. And what a horrible thing to do. And the price of them it's cost prohibitive to buy them right now, your average person. And you're exactly right, is that if people that were the inventors and the entrepreneurs of electrical vehicles looked at this as a hurdle that needed to be overcome, they would continue on their own, funding their own research to make it so that batteries charge quicker and went longer. And you wouldn't need the government to force it. You just need competition. That's always brought the greatest quality and price control to us, we the people, is when governments removed all the obstructions, prevented monopolies, and allowed good, healthy competition between, in this case, oil and electric. Let them compete. Exactly. And they'll come out with the best product, and we'll get the best price for it.
100 years ago, 120 years ago, something like that, there were electric cars then. And the gasoline engine beat out the electric vehicle back then. Technology's changed. Maybe the electric car will win this time. But you were right earlier when you said it's all about control. It has nothing to do with the environment. It's about control. They want to control what you buy.
When you look at some of the physical barriers that are involved here, you do see that there's an underlying agenda, and that is that there's simply not enough raw material to take, even if every single person right now driving to and from work and to and from grandma's house said, I'll take one of your electric vehicles, there's not enough raw material to make those batteries, let alone the grid capacity to charge them. So we know they really don't want all of us in electric vehicles. They want to select few, and the rest of us, we're going to be taking bicycles and public transportation because we're going to be living in one of their new 15-minute cities. That's their
look at what California did. California passes this, was it 2025? They're banning gasoline engines in 2030, whatever year it was. They passed this big law where they're eliminating the gasoline engine. I swear to God, it was the very next week the governor was on TV begging people not to plug in their electric vehicle because the grid was strained.
Yeah. And look at what they have no idea how that's going to ripple through their economy. There's a lot of people out there, snooty, rich people, who don't mow their own lawn. They hire landscapers. I don't know of a single landscaper who's going to be able to carry a backpack blower with a battery pack big enough to get them through the day that they're going to be able to lift off the ground, or weed whackers or lawnmowers. Almost everything that has to do with routine maintenance of our streets and yards requires it.
Yeah. They don't care. They don't take that into account. They think that you're going to be able to just strap a solar panel to your back and that'll be enough to run everything.
Yeah.
I'm
You know,
all for solar energy. Solar energy is great, but it's not 100% reliable, and it's too expensive so far. I'm looking at getting one of them solar backup generator things, but I'm not putting solar panels on my house.
I think the solution really is to cob together what works for you where you're at.
Exactly.
You know, if people down south and compared to up here. But one thing I did know, I come from a background of almost 2 decades in conservation at the local level. And the federal regulations on moving water is unbelievable. And there's no reason that we shouldn't have turbines lining a lot of the rivers and streams through. I mean, all the big cities have rivers running right through them.
Mm-hmm.
And this is another technology, not unlike those that are inventors of electric cars, those that are inventors of turbines. You know, but the environmentalists got in the way. The ones that have been politicized and weaponized. You know, you're going to hurt the fairy shrimp if you put a turbine in this river. Is ridiculous. If we cob that together, at all of our rivers generating power for us, if you live in a section of town where the wind is good, use it. You know, even at the local level. But
what you're talking about is federalism. What you're talking about is allowing every state or town to decide how to do it themselves. And that doesn't work for the tyrannical government that we got trying to shove everything to us from above. Dave, greatly appreciate your phone call. I hear music, which means we're just about out of time.
All right. Thanks. Have a great show. Thank you for taking my call.
Thanks for calling. If you're listening live on Republic Broadcasting Network, stay tuned for Edge of Darkness with Jeffrey Bennett. Thanks to our guests for joining us this evening. Thank you, Mike, my producer, who could do the show without you. Thank you most of all, my listeners and callers. You're why we do this show. Until next week, protect your liberties. Once they're gone, there's no getting them back. God bless America.
We must take America back.